when it comes to the data assets, there are different types of data and classifications. Different data and information, they have different meanings for different organizations and individuals, right? So for example, if you're working for a healthcare company, patient records might be important. But if you're working for a financial company or a bank, credit card information and personal data might actually become more important. So it's important to understand the data types and data categorizations and what is important for each company. Some example of sensitive data types are PII, or personally identifiable information. This is the type of data that normally is important for all type of organizations. PHI, or protected health information, is normally patient-related information that is important for healthcare companies or medical companies. Intellectual property, or IP, is really important for innovators. Financial data, that's again important for all financial companies and a lot of other companies and organizations, right? So things like credit card data, financial data, and etc. And finally, government data. There are sensitive information that is only important for government bodies like military or intelligence agencies and stuff like that. And they're really important for government. If we want to talk a little bit about two main types of personal data that is really important for a lot of organizations, they are PII and PHI. PII is personally identifiable information. PHI is protected health information. And there are identifiable attributes for both PII and PHI type of data. For example, some of those attributes are listed here. So we see that full name, home address, email address, social security number, passport number, and so on. They're all PII type data because you can actually track the data to identify someone with that type of data. And when we're talking about PHI is a little bit more than that. So it does include PII to some extent, but it also includes a lot of additional things that they are health related, like Medicare number, medical records, you know, insurance beneficiary numbers, you know, biometric identifiers, and so on and so forth, right? Both PII and PHI are type of personal information that is normally very important in any country, and they're highly regulated. Intellectual property is another type of data that is really important for a lot of companies, right? So for, specifically for innovator companies. Trademark refers to specific attributes which are unique to each organization, like logos, words, slogans, images. So a lot of you guys might be familiar with Coca-Cola, for example, logo, and that is really Coca-Cola's trademark. Trade secret, on the other hand, is basically the type of confidential data that is only available for the company themselves and no one else. They're not publicly available. So example of that is the secret formula that one company might have to produce their product, right? Licensing is basically a contractual agreement between vendor and a customer, between a provider and a customer. Patent is really the most well-known type of intellectual property, and that is a recognizable license that you can actually get from government body about an idea or a design or basically a concept that you might have in mind, and that will belong to you. So it is recognizable, and if someone else uses that idea, obviously they could have consequences, and they could be fined. Copyright, on the other hand, is basically a type of intellectual property that protects the original expression of ideas, right? So if you're writing a book, for example, you can basically have a copyright associated with it, so no one can really copy the content of your book. WIPO, or World Intellectual Property Organization, protects some basically parts of what we have here in the list, like patents and trademarks, but there are other things that companies need to think about, how they're going to protect and how they're going to make sure that they will not be accessible by unauthorized people. So, and it's a very important thing to think about.